Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. It means the world to me that you're here listening. I know you have so many things you can be listening to. And today I have an amazing guest. I'm super excited for this conversation. You are going to love her and love this conversation. Her name is Siri Baruc Thornton. She is a multifaceted, creative artist, healer, and guide who has dedicated her life to expanding our capacity to feel good. As the host of the Authentic Creative podcast, she inspires thousands with her wisdom on healing, embodiment, and self-expression. With over 26 years of experience in Reiki, Akashic record reading, and mountain breathwork infused with Reiki, Siri has built a thriving practice helping others access their innate power and live with greater joy and alignment. Her journey has taken her from being an actress to the world of healing, blending deep creativity with transformational modalities that support emotional and energetic breakthroughs. She offers intimate group certifications in Reiki and Akashic Records, private healing sessions, and immersive retreats, all designed to help people reconnect with their authenticity and abundance. Whether guiding a breathwork session, writing her upcoming book, The Authentic Creative, Expanding Our Capacity to Feel Good, or working with heart-centered leaders, Siri brings a unique blend of warmth, intuition, and inspiration to everything she does. Today, she joins us on Empowered, Abandoned to Abundant to share her insights on healing, creativity, and what it truly means to step into abundance. Welcome, Siri, to the show. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me, Linda. You're such a blessing. I love you so much. And you're just such a wonderful person, a wonderful friend, and a wonderful connector to other magical people. So thank you so much for the blessing that you have been in my life, Linda. I so appreciate you.
You are so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I am so curious to talk to you about your journey, your fascinating journey from being an actress to becoming a Reiki healer. What inspired that transition? And tell us a little bit about you and where it all began, or wherever you want to start.
Okay. Well, it all began, I don't know. I mean, my soul feels like I joke because my husband used to say like, well, it all began with a boom. Like, I don't know. My soul's been around, and I'm sure yours has too, Linda. Like the people listening, I'm sure you've been around. Like we've been here. We've been here. We've been here.
In a different life. Yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, if you're listening to this, it's probably because we know each other. Our souls know each other. And my soul chose to ascend into an ashram, a yoga ashram, a Sikh ashram outside of Boston and Dorchester, Massachusetts. And I was only there for just like about 2-ish years, maybe almost 3, I'm told. And that was the foundations of a very disciplined spiritual life, which then loosened up after we left, right? Because we were not wearing the turbans, we were not doing yoga at 5 a.m. and like taking showers at 4 a.m. But interestingly, certain things from that foundation have like continued to be a through line today. So the through line, like this morning, took my cold shower. You know, I chant, my husband chants. We have a pretty disciplined practice, although sometimes I miss. But that healing and that spirituality and that commitment to evolving as a soul and doing what we call in Buddhism, my human revolution, has always been the through line. And then acting was a way for me to express, a way for me to belong, a way for me to understand myself, a way for me to connect and find intimacy with others, which is like my favorite thing to do is this, like just being intimate with people is like the best. So it's interesting because the spiritual path and the healing path and the creative path all are so intertwined and feed each other so well. And Hollywood became a part of my story because My dad was in the industry as a producer and a film distributor. And so I so wanted to go to LA because he would go and he would come back, bring me a t-shirt. And I really just couldn't wait to get out there. So the first time I was 16, I got out to LA and I was enamored and it was all starry eyes. And then when I was 19, I moved out there to Santa Monica and started acting professionally, started deepening my acting career. I had done lots of theater and camps and community theater and starred in all the plays and was super into acting. And then it really kind of took off in terms of films and TV and commercials. And then through that, I was supporting myself with my healing work while I was acting and being a waitress, right? Because it's like you have to juggle all of it.
Was there a defining moment in your acting career when you realized you were meant to step into healing work?
It was always there. It was always part of my story. So there was not like necessarily a defining moment. I will say that with Reiki, which was the real first original OG modality for me, there was some defining moments with discovering Reiki and opening to Reiki for sure. And they were usually in Vermont with my mom. And just the crumbling of the anger and the hot tears and the, oh my goodness, this is what unconditional love feels like. That was really defining. And
Okay.
that was like as a teenager with my mom, and then her Reiki masters that she hung out with and was learning from.
Okay.
There was also a meditation teacher, Michael Tamura, who's since passed, and taking his meditation, we would sit and meditate for like 6, 7 hours. I mean, it was like all day meditating. That was pretty defining working with him.
So your deeply spiritual environment, you're saying that you felt connected into healing work your entire life, pretty much?
Yeah. Well, I would say there was a gap between like 3 years old and maybe like 13 years old, where I wasn't super immersed because my parents weren't really super immersed in the spiritual world, but there was always like they did est, which was the precursor to landmark form. So they were always committed to their evolution. That was always there. They were always surrounded by spiritual people. So, I mean, probably not really. There was ever a gap. It was just not as like focused during that period of time.
Interesting. So I'm going to pivot right now.
Yeah. Yes. Let's pivot.
Let's pivot to the Akashic readings. Can you explain what Akashic readings are and how accessing them can help people in their personal and spiritual growth? Because I know that a lot of people listening may not know what that is.
Yeah. So Akashic record reading is interesting because the words Akashic, we're not like, what is that? First of all, Akasha is like this infinite, it's so many things. First and foremost, it's really something that needs to be experienced because we can talk about it all day, but it's one of those things where you just have to understand it through the experience of it. But let me do my best to say that the Akasha is sort of like this infinite film that your dog has access to. I can read the Akashic of a dog. Your plants have Akashic energy. Anything living is surrounded by like a plasma that is recording all the time. So we can tap into, some people are like, no, it's a library, but that's one of the images or ways of relating to the Akashic records. It's a plasma that records everything. So just like we're recording right now and you're able to listen, if we listen to the recording around anything that is alive, there's an inroad to that through a prayer. So there's a prayer and there's practice, right? So when we practice, we get good at anything. So for 9 years, I've been practicing Akashic record reading. And what it does is it allows me to be able to have like a concrete way of coming out of my own personality ego and listening from this, like as if you're up in an airplane, that kind of a perspective, like you can completely see the whole picture. So it's not like a psychic reading where people are asking me questions like, when is such and such going to happen? It's more like spiritual therapy, right?
Okay.
So we get to see all the causes and conditions when you share with me, and we talk about it. We look at it as detectives together, and then we together as a team, masters, teachers, loved ones, guides of you, my team, and then the Akashic field, open to this infinite wisdom. And we get to see, like, oh, of course, that's why this is happening, because potentially there was a past life that this is related to. Also, we look at the future and the energy in present time, which I can look at and give spiritual tools in the moment with the Akashic Open, where we can like dissolve emotional blocks and energetic blocks and all sorts of stuff like that. And then the other possibility is the future, where we can look at not predetermined, like this is concrete, this is definitely happening at this time, but future possibilities, because you have free will. So there's a million possibilities that are open. And I can say, okay, give me like 3 things that you're thinking about. Like, for example, I'm thinking about moving to these 3 places. And I look at the energy of each of those 3 places and I say, okay, ooh, and you're a realtor, so you understand, like, we can open, as long as a house is on the market, we can open the records of that house and we can go, let's look at the energy of that house. Let's look at the Akashic field of that house and you and your relationship to it. And is this a good vibration? Also, we can look at, of course, relationships. People love, of course, asking about their children. So I can, with their first name of the child, I can start to see some things about how they can relate to the child and what's going to be beneficial. We can look at purpose, right? So like, where am I meant to focus my attention? So many people are multifaceted, like you are, Linda. So it's like, where's the best place to put my focus right now in this chapter of my life? We can look at that. There's no end. It's kind of like whatever is not letting you sleep at night, that I say, like, let's start there. Like, what's the thing that's not getting better?
Okay.
That's like a really, really good entry point for an Akashic reading.
Okay. And you certify people in that,
I
right?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I
And
do.
can anyone access their own Akashic records, or does it require a guide like yourself?
So anyone, yes, with the right intention, like pure heart, intention, training, practice. People oftentimes will access the Akashic wisdom accidentally, which is what I did when I first, before I got my training. I was giving Reiki to someone on a table and I just started tapping into their cat, their dead cat.
Wow.
Other times it was like a baby that wasn't born yet. I'm like, okay, you're pregnant. And they're like, wait, how did you know that? I'm like tapping into the Akashic accidentally, because there are other ways. Like one of the Reiki symbols that I teach Reiki. One of the Reiki symbols does give you access to the Akashic. So but I was like, I need a predictable, like I was just accessing it randomly, right? So it's
Weren't
like,
even looking to access that, and you were doing
yeah.
Reiki on someone, and then it came. So did that serve you? Should you have, like, how does that work?
For years, Linda, people would ask me after Reiki sessions, because I've worked on like thousands of people doing Reiki on them. And they would ask me sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, like, tell me about myself afterwards. And I'm like, that's not what Reiki is. The way I teach it, the traditional Usui method, you just get out of the way. You're a clear channel. You are not analyzing. You're not prescribing. You're not judging, you're not manipulating, you're just being a clear channel. So people would ask me about themselves and I'm like, I don't know. I just was in super meditative space, like doing the symbols and mantras and like letting the energy flow and your body healing itself. But then when the Akashic came in at that particular time, about 9 years ago, I was like, okay, now we can go to that level. Like someone wants to do this kind of informational process. Now I have a way to give them that, to look at their life, to look at themselves.
That's when you
Yeah.
began. the Akashic was it 9 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep track of it. I could probably look on Facebook, but I
Oh,
feel like it's
Secretariat.
I feel like
So,
it's like 8.5, 9. Yeah.
yeah. Have you ever received an Akashic message that completely shifted your own perspective or path?
Oh, that's good. I mean, I will tell you that the readings I gave, because I gave a ton of readings in the beginning, like back to back, I would just do like some days I would do like 7 in a row, shorter readings. And then as I went on, I would do like 4 and then 3, but like longer readings. From doing all those readings, I was able to learn as I was giving the readings. So I was not coming from Siri, I was coming from the Akashic. So I was like watching and learning as I'm relaying the information. And just being able to see things from that perspective for other people, you can't not become enlightened towards those truths. Like truth is truth for everyone. And so it's like a revelation for sure. Every single time I'm like, oh my God, that was fascinating what we got to see.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I might have to do one with you. We'll see. But how
I
is it?
would love that.
Yeah, it's different than astrology reading and, human design. It's different because you're bringing in the
Yeah, I mean, astrology and human design, which I love, and I do human design readings, but it's fixed. There's nothing changing or moving, right? It is fixed based on when you were born and where you were born.
yeah, yeah,
So it's that's a beautiful inroad to understanding ourselves.
yeah. I love
Um,
it. I love it
and
too.
and the Akashic is just always moving. So one of the misconceptions that some people have is that you get an Akashic reading once and then you're done. But actually, I say like if you haven't done an Akashic record reading within the last 3 months, let's update your records.
Yeah,
Meaning let's like there's a whole thing that I do, like this kind of thing with my hand, like I'm moving my hand, like there's a whole vibratory like shifting where we can, like if you haven't turned your computer or your phone off in a really long time and there's a new software system, right? That's what we can do with the Akashic. We can just update all the records.
and it's not. It could be ancestors you're speaking with, or you're hearing from, and
Yep.
the archangels, right? It's not just. And would you be able to tell me who you're getting the information? Is it my father? Is it my grandmother?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious. I find that so
Yeah.
incredibly fascinating. I mean, part of me thinks it's, perhaps
It's
not.
pretty woo woo.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I trust, like, I'm learning more to just trust myself and do my own, like, I
Yes.
am my own guru, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah. So, I mean, we could
And
talk
that's
about
why
this.
I like teaching the Akashic because that is the empowerment that I'm giving you is to say you can access your own infinite wisdom without anyone else.
I love that. I love that.
I, yeah.
Okay, and then let's go to the Reiki, because Reiki infused with or mountain breath work. Tell me a little bit about that, because I've only heard of breath work, not mountain breath work. What is it?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with Anna K. Morris a few days ago at my Goddess of Light retreat that she was at, and we were driving from the woods back to the Airbnb in Mountain Village, Oregon. And I had a little chat with her, and I'm in the moment of transition with the name. So, Linda, I'd be curious your advice on this. Speaking of our own highest authority, but I like to kind of get perspective. We all need perspective. I've been thinking mountain breathwork. Now it means something to me, but I have to explain it to people, the story behind it. It's a beautiful story. But I think maybe what Anna was saying is like people don't understand what that means. So I've been playing around with just last night the idea of just calling it transformational breathwork.
I like that.
Because, right? Because it's like we know what that means more than mountain breathwork.
Right. Got it. So it's really your brand, the mountain breath work.
Yeah, it was my brand, but I'm like, you know what? I want people to get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
So,
When did you start doing breath work, and how has
yeah,
that like, how has that, affected you and, transformed things for you in your life and your business and your home life? And, I know you're married, you have children, and I still want to
Yeah.
get the acting a little bit just because I want to know, because you're beautiful. I looked up your, page, and, you have dark hair. I mean, you're just a beautiful actress. So I want to hear a little bit about all of it. Like, you know,
Okay. Well, I was acting in New York City, and it just so happened that another actress in New York City that shared the same manager with me was facilitating breathwork. She's one of the original breathwork facilitators before breathwork became fashionable. And this was like over 20 years ago. And she and I did trades. I used to do a lot of trades with people that if I really liked what they were doing spiritually, then I'd be like, let's trade. And so we would, in my Astoria, Queens apartment and in her Chelsea, New York City apartment, we would do trades. And it was absolutely life changing. I mean, I was like in love with it. I was just like, this is the best feeling in the world. I was releasing trauma. I'm crying. I'm shaking. I'm letting all of it go. It's all getting left on the floor. Like, it's just, what is this heaven, right? Because prior to that, it was like, I don't know how to get this shit out of my body. Like, I know how to do acting, but that's reliant on specific situations. And how often when you're acting are you really actually acting? You're mostly just sitting in your trailer alone.
mm,
And it's kind of like not the catharsis most of the time that you're wanting. So this has become like the main catharsis. Like, this is like main character energy kind of feeling when I'm in my breath work. So I started facilitating groups with her in an acupuncture office in Midtown, New York City. And then when she and I both were living in LA, she came out to LA after I was there, and we started facilitating group practices in my West Hollywood apartment and then in a Pilates studio in Santa Monica. And that was wonderful. And then that led to me getting to do a Reiki session on Leah Michelle on the set of Glee. That was before a lot of the people died. I mean, oh my God, how tragic is that? So then cut to the pandemic. We moved from LA to Camas, Washington, which is where I am now outside of Portland, Oregon. And I discover from an actress friend of mine, Johanna Watts, who is the reason I was calling it Mountain Breathwork, by the way. I discover because she had a birthday breathwork Zoom party, which is so cool. This breathwork again, but this triactive breathwork. And I was like, I gotta do this, I gotta learn it, I gotta teach it, right? You know that feeling. So I started learning it and doing it and practicing it, receiving it, giving it all the time. I've been obsessed with it for like 3.5 years. And so I'm back to it. It's like I rediscovered
right.
breathwork.
You released a lot of trauma. You released it from the body. So you felt, like a different person, it sounds like, right?
Yes, and in answer to what you were asking about with my family, I became able to say I'm safe for myself, and really what it meant to regulate my nervous system, like what that physically, viscerally, actually meant to be safe in my body, to feel that safety in my body, to feel held by myself. Which now I'm on a little binge of doing breath work every single morning. So with the retreat that I just did, even though I was hosting women and it was so tempting to just go have coffee and chat with them in the mornings, I was like, no way, I got to do my breath work. And I did it, and I'm prioritizing it, and it's making my days incredible.
That's so wonderful. That's so important. Like, it's so important to carve out time for yourself and to know what you need and give it to yourself. I was just sharing in this group thing I was in just now before this, that I really learned to listen to my body and listen to what I need. And the other day I was in a group meeting, and I left the meeting and I didn't feel great like mentally or physically. Like, so I
Mhm.
knew I needed to go to my tools, I needed
Yes.
to go and meditate and breathe and, journal and just read something positive and just like shift out of this 3D logical fear-based society that we live in. Like I had to come back to my spiritual self. And so
Yes.
I love that you prioritize yourself in the morning with breath work because it's something you love. That's so wonderful. And I'm so happy to hear that you're doing that. I want to pivot to your podcast, the Authentic Creative, focusing on expanding our capacity to feel good. And I'm curious about the name and what, that mission is for you and, to talk about that a little bit, your podcast.
Yeah.
We called
Thank
something
you.
else. You're welcome.
I loved having you on my podcast, Linda. And I love speaking to people who are heart-centered, who are soul-led, whether that be a musician, a singer, a producer, an actor, a director, a writer, an entrepreneur, a spiritual leader, a thought leader, someone who has an incredibly successful cupcake business. Like it kind of doesn't matter, but if they have deep faith in something, I find that so fascinating and admirable. And anything that involves creativity or faith, and that can be spiritual or religious faith, like it's really just fascinating to me to talk to people and hear their stories and lift them up and dignify them and mirror back to them
Love that. You do
what is
that so
so beautiful about them. And you do that too. Like it feels so good. And then I just hope that it touches people, it lifts them up. I hope that it helps them expand even 1% more, to melt their heart 1%, to help them find a better thought 1% more. That's the hope, is that we can vibrate higher together. And
yeah.
and this expanding our capacity to feel good across the board with everything I'm doing, that's the through line, is like we don't have a problem suffering. We don't have a problem struggling. We all get how to do that. Very familiar. We have a problem allowing ourselves to feel good consistently.
Right. It's true. It's the human conditioning. We've been conditioned to suffer and struggle and it's hard. It's hard to make money. It's hard to do this. And,
Yeah,
life is hard. Yeah. And that's what we have been conditioned to believe and to, perform that way. So it
yeah,
is effort to feel good. It's effort to prioritize yourself. It's effort to be your authentic self and be courageous and show up and shine your light without worrying you're going to make somebody uncomfortable or when the reality is the more that I'm learning and exploring is that when we shine we're giving permission to other women to do the same,
yeah.
right?
We're liberating each other, and we need each other. We need to see each other liberated and just go, oh, I can do that too. I can let it go too.
Yeah, and I'm still doing the work and I know you as well, like we're always doing the
Yeah,
work. I mean, I've
yeah.
healed so much being here in Florida and, just facing all the things. And I'm definitely doing much, much better, but still doing the work. And
I'm so proud of us
thank you.
because we are so committed.
Yeah, we are. What does living an authentically creative life mean to you? Or did you kind of already?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. It means prioritizing my freedom to create whatever that is. So, whether that's creating a morning that feels good to me and that doesn't feel pressured, whether that's creating a video reel that I'm going to post, whether that's creating a healthy snack tray for my kids when they get home, because it's so important to me, Linda, that I get the freedom to be home when they get home.
Yes. And that's something you're so blessed for.
Like to create a
Yeah,
life that I love.
that's
That's everything, you know? I
yes.
had to work, and we all have had to work jobs that we didn't like, but I had to hustle so much, and I'm just done hustling.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't work. It doesn't feel good. You burn out. I burned out. I was constantly burning out.
We're not
And
here to,
so
we're
here
here
we
to
are,
do.
like shifting into like, wait a minute, we get to be in our gifts and in our zone of genius and shine, and like that liberates others, and we get to get paid for it.
Yes. Yes.
Like, yes, please.
Yes,
Oh,
please, and more, please.
and more, please.
Yes. And it's how important would you say living in the present moment is?
It's everything, right? I mean, literally, you cannot be happy if you're not in the present moment.
Exactly.
You could be happy thinking about the future vacation you're going to go on. Okay, I'll give you that.
Right. But I was listening to a different show and she was talking about how she was always in the but next, like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and then like I'll feel good when,
Yes.
and it's a thing we do
Such a
also.
trap.
It's a trap, and
Just moving that dangling carrot.
yeah, instead of just being
Yeah.
present with what we have and grateful for what we have and enjoying what we have, like I don't care what's in the bank account. If I am walking past my pool with the palm trees and the sun is shining in the middle of the day with the dog, like I'm abundant. I
Yes.
am freaking blessed and abundant. I'm
Yes.
alive. I'm walking. I can see. I have eyesight. I'm able to see colors and, and smell fresh air. And like, I love bringing mindfulness and consciousness to the world. I love waking people up to what we have here and noticing
Yes.
when the thoughts pop in or the old wiring or something, a default program shows up and just noticing, okay, like how do you react when that happens? Like when you're in your human and, a thought comes in that perhaps is, maybe it's ego or something.
I get trapped by my ego all the time. And it's a practice, right? Like you just said, it's a practice. We're not perfect. We're human. We're not perfect. We're never going to be just like ascended all the time, like just like walking Buddhas. Like, yes, we have our Buddha nature, I call it, but like we're freaking human. So we have egos, and the contrast is important. And so that's why we get to practice. Like, Kathy Heller says we get to like box with it, right? So it's like that's giving us those reps and building that muscle of like, and I say in breathwork, it's not how many times we get lost or off track, it's how many times we come back.
Hmm.
That's all that matters. How many times can I come back today? Back
Yeah.
to my
Sounds like
soul, back to my knowing, back to my mastership, back to my embodiment,
yeah.
back to the present moment. How many times can I come back to my breath? How many times can I just breathe again?
Yeah.
Oh, and I love what you're saying because I know people and you know people. I know people and you know people that have money and that have quote success. But if you really knew what their personal private life was like, you'd be like, oh, right?
Yeah.
And also I know people that don't prioritize making money and very fortunate because they have collected the treasures of the heart, you know? And it's like Buddha left the palace and then he left the palace, and we know that that's not the answer. The answer is how, like you just described, how do I appreciate what's right in front of me?
Exactly. Um, So, I have another question. As somebody who has lived both in the acting world and the spiritual world, what has been the biggest lesson about balancing creativity, success, and inner peace? It's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's exactly what we're talking about. So I don't really know that there's this balance so much as they feed each other. So if I am in alignment, if I am doing my breath work, if I'm moving my body, taking walks outside with the dogs at the dog park, playing with my dog, appreciating the moment, being in the moment, honoring my vessel, all these things that we strive to do, I'm going to naturally be in overflow, and that overflow looks like an abundance of creativity. The creativity is our natural state of being. So and especially as a woman, my female creative matrix, if my second chakra is aligned and open, if I'm feeling good, I'm going to feel good and turned on. I'm going to feel all the way good. And then that is our creativity. Everything is born. Babies, art, music, success, whatever it is, it's all born from us being in that flow and feeling good in our body. And then it all informs each other. So if I'm feeling good, I'm going to have, like, for example, this morning when I was practicing breathwork, I listened to my recordings and things just pop in, right? As I'm breathing, the it's like the same thing as people who sit down and journal or have a conversation with God. That's my meeting with God. The inspirations are going to pop in of like who I want to work with. Oh, that woman's in Costa Rica. I want to reach out to her because I want to do a retreat with her and I love that space that she's in right now. That's just going to pop in to reach out to her.
Creative ideas are coming.
Yeah.
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 Tell us about your retreat. You just had a retreat. You had a bunch of ladies come to you and you hosted it. I saw a little bit on social media. I'm so excited. It looked like an amazing time of a bunch of blonde women. Uh,
It was six blondes and one brunette.
there was a brunette. Okay, I didn't see with the lighting, but
It's funny because she wasn't there for the beginning of the retreat and then she popped in later. And so a lot of the pictures are just six blondes.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about it and how it sounds like it was an amazing success.
Well, thank you for asking because I'm so, Linda, incredibly proud. I'm so proud because I struggled to create a retreat that I wanted to create, and then I got practice and practice and practice, and then I finally felt ready to charge. But I will tell you that I didn't make the retreat happen. It literally happened on its own in the sense that I had a panel of women that I was interviewing, and at the end of the panel, one of them said, Robin Cohen said, let's all just meet in a field. Oh my God, like I love you guys so much. We have to get together in person. And then Megan Greer said, AKA Megan Sky, Siri, don't you have an Airbnb in Mount Hood Village, Oregon? And I was like, yes, I do. And then I reached out to the women afterwards in an email or messaged them, whatever. And they all just said yes. They were like, no brainer, I'm coming.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, I should probably charge a little something this time, like instead of it just being a get together. And voila, a retreat was born. And I'm like, thank you. What a miracle. Thank you, God, because this is what I've been wanting and calling in. But previously I was like trying.
Right.
I was trying so hard.
This is a huge lesson for the whole audience listening. You were trying and did not succeed. And here you were being creative, which you've been doing a lot lately with your panelists, which I will be on in March. But like you have these beautiful gatherings of amazing souls and you're bringing them together. And then it was born without effort. And that's so beautiful. Oh, I love this so much. And it's like you just being you being Siri and doing what's natural and like, oh, I'm going to do panels. And like you somehow got 10 or whatever people on your podcast all at one time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you're doing it. But, and then I love
It
this
was
story.
it was informed by this human design information that we've all been receiving recently, which is like, I'm a manifesting generator, so just, I mean, I already was the type of person who would lean into my passion, but it just gave me that extra validation to go, I know it doesn't make sense, but I'm just going to lean into what feels fun and exciting and good. And then I'm just going to lean into the what I was calling the treasures of the heart, because that's a Buddhist term. And I was like, I'm just leaning into the love. That was all I was doing, was leaning into the love. And then it just happened.
That's it. That's A Course in Miracles too. The gold is that there's two choices, love and fear. And you were choosing
Yes.
love, and miracles were happening. Magic was happening when you chose love. And
Yes.
that's so incredible. Oh my God, I love it.
And now, Linda, it's like I have this confidence from that retreat and having it be so successful and seeing it change
It
these
inspired
women's
me.
lives.
I'm creating something in Florida, and I was at a networking and I met someone who does events for women. She's a French woman, and she like found this, and I'm like, I'm going to take you, you're going to do everything. I'm going to charge, and we're going to have fun. It's going to be
Yes.
women having me time, and you inspired me because you were doing yours too. And I've been wanting to, because I live in Florida. It's a retreat place, like why am I not hosting 3 or 4 retreats, but doing it alone is,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like I listened to one of the ladies' testimonials, what attention to detail and how
Oh,
you,
Dana, yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I bet you were. That's so beautiful.
I had the little seventh grader in me had so much fun picking out their plush hooded bathrobes that we all wore, and like the crystal candles. Like it was just, I that was so fun. And then writing these poems for each of them, like it was just so, my little girl was like having such a fun time, and then they felt so seen.
I love that. Oh my gosh, you bought bathrobes for everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. So beautiful. So when's the next one? Do you
Oh
have
my
one?
God, Linda, I don't know, when should it be? I'm like thinking like, I don't know. It's a question mark.
Oh,
I'm
that's
thinking May. I'm thinking May.
is that a good month for weather and everything?
I think May. We'll
Okay.
see. I don't know.
It's a,
It's gonna come to me. This is the trust.
yes.
I'm learning to trust, like it's good, like to be patient and let things like come, right? Instead of like, well, let me strategize this.
Yes. It's amazing. Um, I usually don't prepare any questions, but because you had amazing questions whenever I listen to your show, I'm like, I'm gonna prepare some questions. So
Okay.
that's why I have a few over here. Um, I think I already asked you many of these. How can people who feel disconnected from their intuition start rebuilding that trust within themselves? That one I didn't ask. So, how can
Oh,
people who feel
yeah.
disconnected from their intuition start rebuilding trust within themselves?
I love how your questions are what we've already started talking about.
Yeah.
It's all perfect. Okay, so when I teach Akashic record reading, one of the biggest things we do in the beginning is start to discern between the Akashic and our intuition. And so just starting to look at your intuition and recognizing it and being aware of it. How does it come in? Do you see something? Do you feel it in your body? Do you just know?
You hear it?
Do you hear it? Do you get like, is it over here in the corner, in the right corner? Is it in the left corner? Like
Yeah.
in human design, do you have splenic authority? Is it a sacral authority? Is it a solar plexus authority? Like start to look at to perceive, to notice how. How do I receive my information, my knowing? Is it a little ping?
Yeah.
Or is it just this, what we talk about, the hell yes, the whole body yes? So I think the more we can just, as with everything, notice
Become the
and
observer
just,
of
you could
life.
even start to write it down in your journal. You could have a specific journal just about your intuition. I have like 5 or 6 journals right now, which is so great because I stopped journaling for years and I used
Hmm.
to journal prolifically and then I stopped and now I've got like 6 journals. You could have a journal just for intuition, how you perceive it, what you're intuiting. And the thing that's so great is what we were just talking about with I'm like, "Oh, I'm so proud," is we're starting to look for proof, for evidence, right? Of our intuition leading us in the right direction so that we can continue to build deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper trust. So that if I start to notice, instead of saying, oh, I should have trusted my intuition, I knew that and I didn't do it, I took the left turn, I should have taken the right. Instead of that, what if we start to look at like, well, what's worked? What's working? What did I know I needed to do? My husband came in this morning and he said, "Do you want to go for coffee?" And instead of me saying yes, which I would easily do, I said, "No, I'm going to do my breath work." And so I can look for the evidence of, oh, I did my breath work and now I feel amazing.
I love
Okay,
this.
oh, that was good following my intuition. So
Yes.
there's evidence.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I love that so much. I love when that happens, when like you say no to something and then it's just powerful when you what you just said.
And another door opens.
Yeah, exactly. And you just get confirmation from the universe that you made
Yes.
the right decision, right? So
Yes.
if someone is new to spirituality, energy work, Akashic readings, where would you recommend they start?
I would say what's exciting? What makes you go, ooh, that would be fun? I'd love to lay down and have someone lay their hands over the chakras and feel that warm, unconditional love energy and just bliss out and be held. Or like, ooh, I'd love to have her open my Akashic or learn how to open my own Akashic and start to get information from other realms and masters, teachers, and loved ones and get some real good clarity and validation and upliftment and attunement. Oh, that feels really exciting. Or like, oh my God, I would love to lay down and just cry and scream and breathe and feel all my feelings and process all the trauma and just like actually get it out of my body instead of spending 10 years doing therapy, which yes, I love therapy, did it most of my life, but like could I get some relief like in 1 hour?
Yeah,
That would be really helpful to me, to my business, to my success, to my body. Like you're gonna lose weight if you do breath work. Like so what feels good?
I love that. So do you miss acting at all?
Yeah, I mean,
Like you were, tell us some of the things you were in. You were in Law and Order. What else?
I miss the adventure because when I was acting, it would be like, okay, in 2 days we're flying you to Bulgaria for 3 weeks. Or
Mm.
like, okay, you're in Vancouver, Canada right now doing a film, and in as soon as you get off that film, you're gonna fly to Connecticut and do this other role. Like, I miss that kind of adventure because it's super exciting when you're in it. I miss the creative family that develops around a project and being a part of that huge energy and inspiration and collaboration and human to human, like, let's make something. That's so exciting. Being on set is exciting, and there's a shadow to everything. My dog's barking.
That's okay. We're all humans living in human lives, and we can all relate and understand. Um,
But I will say there's a shadow to everything. And so the shadow is that a lot of my acting career felt very much out of my hands. And what I absolutely cannot say enough good things about is the ability to run my own show like you're doing today. That feels so good. It's in my hands.
yeah, that leads me to my next question. What made you start the podcast? When and what made you start a podcast?
Yeah, my breathwork facilitator said he was coaching me and he said, "Why don't you start a podcast?" And this was over 3 years ago. And I was like, okay. What are you interested in? What would you want to know? What are you curious about? Well, I'd love to interview other actors about what I was calling the actor wound. The actor
Ooh,
wound. The
oh,
actor wound was the original name of of my podcast. I'm like, this podcast. We're
wow.
on your podcast. Um, so after several actor interviews, some of my more quote successful actor friends were like, I don't want to be on the actor one because I don't relate to it that way. But I was very curious, my psychology curiosity, like I love psychology and I love sociology. I wanted to know why people got into acting and what they were consciously or unconsciously healing through being an actor.
Wow, that's
And so,
not what I would have thought
yeah.
it was. I would have thought the actor wound was something that happens after you're an actor.
Well, it can definitely get continuously reopened, that wound, whatever that original wounding is from childhood, like your childhood traumas basically like, oh, I need to be seen. I'm not seen. I don't feel seen, or I need to be validated. I need external validation, or I need attention because I don't feel,
But
whatever that
yeah,
is, like,
that becomes
or
toxic.
my dad left, or my mom was in bed and she wasn't present, like all that.
It's not just like I want to be an actress. I want to be on stages because I love acting. I'm a creative. I'm a creator. I mean, it could be someone that truly
Yeah,
loves
I feel like it's both.
performing
I feel
arts.
like it's
Right,
both. But it's like you're, abandoned to
right,
abundant, right?
right.
Like that is very, very similar. Okay, here's what it is. It was looking at the abandonment wound.
Hmm.
You could call it the actor wound was just another name for the abandonment wound.
Wow. Oh,
And so
interesting.
because I found that a lot of actors had this abandonment wound. I mean, a lot of humans have it, but it was just that I was curious about actors.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. Incredible. There's something fascinating about it. I actually have an upcoming interview with someone who's an actress, or she was an actress, and now she's as a producer, film producer or something, or
Mm-hmm.
film company or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated. I interviewed Eric Bigger, who he was on The Bachelorette. He was he had $1,000 and went to LA and ended up prayed, and he got on Bachelorette, and first, and so that just made him famous. And he has a
That's
podcast,
cool.
all these things. Yeah, it's just fun. I mean, but nobody's different, right? But like we tend to, I glamorize. Like as soon as I found out you're an actress, I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's cool. I think it's super cool.
Thank you.
You up, you're adorable. You had dark hair, and you're like, you were beautiful. You are beautiful, and you were beautiful done. And I think you're intimidating to many. That's how beautiful you are, inside and
Oh, oh, wow.
out. You show up on social
Wow.
dancing, and it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Absolutely. Who are some of your favorite, like who influenced you in your life in your healing work? Like besides Kathy Heller, I know she's been somebody that both of us, oops, the dog's having we're having all kinds of he's having his reverse sneezing. I'll cut this out. Maybe I'll cut it out. Maybe okay.
Okay, this is like the dog podcast because here's Luna. She wants to be on screen.
I love that idea. I should start a second podcast called The Dog Whisperer, the dog something, because I'm such a dog person. Oh my gosh. Oh, and you got your dog there. Lucky, are you okay? Okay. Breathe. We need Lucky to
Breathe.
breathe. Lucky breathe. But yeah, I was so looking forward to talking to you today. We've had you on the calendar multiple times and it just didn't work out for you or for me, our respective, schedules and different things showed up. But it's been so amazing talking to you. But yeah, I'm curious who some of your biggest influencers, and like you are
Oh,
part
right.
Jewish. If you're part Jewish, we
Yeah.
had this conversation, and you're a Buddhist, and I'm really spiritual and born Jewish, and
Hmm.
I align with Judaism and Buddhism and just being spiritual overall and just taking what I like from the different, and deciding what I want to believe.
Yeah, Jubus. Well, yeah, my
Mhm.
dad's 100% Jewish, and my stepmom I grew up with is 100% Jewish, and I love that aspect. And then my mom grew up Catholic with nuns, and then was got married in the Unitarian Church, and then I found Buddhism on my own. Um,
You were born in an ashram, right? Isn't that
so originally, so there was a phase of my parents' lives before they split where they were for 10 years devoted American Sikhs. But that's not in their blood necessarily. That's just a choice that they were making. What was the question?
who your mentors were? I don't know how.
Oh, mentors. Oh,
Yeah, but I
mentors.
went to religion for some reason, and yeah, because
Yes.
mentors and Buddhism and then also
Well, so Daisaku Ikeda is a mentor of mine. He's passed recently. He is who built the Soka Gakkai International, the Buddhist organization that I'm a part of, that I give support in and get support from and have sisters and brothers in faith. We don't have a temple, we just chant in each other's homes, and we have centers all over the world in 193, I believe it is, countries and territories. So there's that mentor, and then I was referencing Michael Tamura, who's since passed, and Karen Krieger was one of my Reiki teachers. Libby Barnett was one of my Reiki teachers, and both of them, their lineage connects to Dr. Usui, who is the original originator of the founder of Usui Reiki, of Reiki in general. And then Akashic Record reading, Dr. Linda Howe, who I interviewed, who's written for, I think, 5 books now about the Akashic. She's been a mentor of mine. And then Helen Vonderheide was one of Dr. Linda Howe's students who taught me. And so I've drawn from a lot of different teachers, and it's, all the people that I've interviewed on the Authentic Creative podcast, a lot of those people are mentors of mine. Um,
amazing.
so
You've had some
yeah,
incredible guests. You've had amazing guests on your show.
thank you. And
Yeah.
there's some good ones coming up too. Do you know the June Motel women? Do you
No.
that sh the show on Netflix, where these women restore a motel on Sable Beach?
I'll have to
And they take this like rundown motel and they turn it into the cutest, like girly motel and like 70s style. And so I'm going to be interviewing them, and that's going to be so fun. I'm so
that
excited. And
is
then
fun. I'm gonna watch it.
Fulton Fulton Lee, who's this incredible musician singer, I just went to his concert. I'm supposed to be interviewing him soon, so I'm excited.
Yeah, you have some incredible guests. That's amazing. What last words, just to be respectful of time, how can people find you, and what last words would you like to share with everyone?
Yes. Um, Email me if you want to, Siri, Siri, at sageandblushwellness.com. Hopefully, Linda can throw that in the show notes. My website is sageandblushwellness.com. And then my Instagram is at Siri Baruc Thornton, Thornton. And last words, I would say keep expanding your capacity to feel good one breath at a time.
Mm, thank you. I love that so much. Um, Thank you for being here, and it's been an incredible conversation. I know we could talk for hours and hours. Perhaps there'll be another conversation in the
I'd
near
love that. That'd
future,
be fun.
or we can
All
get
right.
together in real life at one of your retreats or one of my retreats. That would be super, super fun. Thank you
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much.
so
Love you.
much.